him go. You see, this man at least recognizes the truth, and his conscience tells him what he ought to do, and he is willing to do it, but not if it's going to cause too much trouble. That's it, isn't it? He knows what to do. He is willing to do it if only it wouldn't cause trouble. But if it's going to have repercussions, he doesn't want to go through it. He begins well enough when they come back with Jesus and he hears them again. He says to them, "You've brought this man to me as one who misleads the people, but I've examined him in your presence. I find no fault with him. I will chastise him and release him." But you see, the mob is not happy. They all cry out at once, "Away with this man, and release to us Barabbas," who had been thrown into prison for rebellion and for murder. But Pilate tries again, verse 20, wishing to release Jesus again, he called out to them. But the crowd continued to shout, "Crucify him, crucify him." Pilate asserts his innocence again. The third time he says, "Why, what evil has he done?" But they are insistent upon it, verse 23. And they continue to cry for his crucifixion. And what happens? Pilate gives in. He knows very well that this is utterly unjust. He is simply giving way to mob rule. This man who is the procurator of Judea, he is the representative of Roman law and order and justice, and he just gives in. He gives in to the wishes of the people. He gives in under protest. Matthew tells us that he takes a basin of water and ceremonially he washes his hands and says, "I am innocent of the blood of this man." As if by doing that he could clear himself. John tells us that at another point Pilate brought Jesus out to the people wearing the crown of thorns and the purple robe, and he points to them and he says, "Look at the man." And he is apparently trying to gain some sympathy for the prisoner. But at the end of the day, Pilate is not prepared to do what he knows to be right because he sees it is going to cause trouble. And he did not want trouble. How many Pontius Pilates are there in the world today? Men and women who know what is right, but they will not do it. Self-interest prevails over truth and righteousness and justice. Notice that Pilate left his mark on history. I wonder, has it ever occurred to you this? That the name of Pilate is probably on the lips of Christians more frequently than the name of Paul or Peter or John. We have it printed every week in our bulletin. Throughout the world, Christians every week say together in one or other of the creeds, "He suffered under Pontius Pilate," for a terrible legacy. And to the end of time, Christians will go on reciting these creeds, including the name of Pontius Pilate, because self-interest reigned in this man's life. What reigns in your life? Are you another Pilate? Are you controlled by self-interest? The Lord Jesus tells us in Matthew 16, "If anyone desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." Are you someone who is ready to take up your cross, to follow Jesus Christ, to crucify self and to follow him? Or are you someone in whom self-interest reigns and controls what you are? And then just finally notice that Jesus is condemned and he is led away to crucifixion. And Pilate releases to them the one they requested, who for rebellion and murder had been thrown into prison. Jesus had been accused of being a rebel, a disturber of the peace, a threat to society. And yet, with the most total inconsistency, these men demand the release of a man who really was a rebel and a murderer and a threat to society. Such is the total blindness of these men, that they crucify Jesus and they release a man guilty of the very accusations that they brought against Jesus. And it shows, does it not, the utter spiritual blindness of these men. And the spiritual blindness of the world is unchanged. It is still true that men love darkness rather than light, because their deeds are evil. Christ is the light of the world. He who follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. God grant that each and every one of us here this morning, that we may be found numbered among those who walk in the light, who have left the darkness behind, who are not spiritually blinded like these men of old and like the multitudes in the world around us today who do not know right from wrong. God grant that we may have spiritual understanding and that we may be obedient to it, that we may be children of the light, not of the darkness. But here we leave our narrative at this point, where Jesus is condemned to death and about to be led away. This is your hour and the power of darkness. May God speak to us.